My best friend betrayed me to save his career. I almost lost everything. I always believed that a true friend is the one who stands beside you during the darkest times of your life. For me, that friend was Alex. We met in college, two clueless freshmen trying to survive the chaos of new classes, new faces, and too many parties. I remember the exact moment our very first lecture. I was struggling to set up an old projector for a group presentation while the professor tapped his pen impatiently on the desk. My palms were sweating, my face burning with embarrassment. That's when he appeared tall, confident, wearing a grin that seemed to disarm the whole room. He tapped my shoulder and whispered, "Let me show you." With a few swift clicks, the projector hummed to life. He gave me a wink and said, "Name's Alex. If you ever need a hand, I've got you." From that moment, we were inseparable. Over the next few years, Alex became more than just a friend. He was like the brother I never had. We'd stay up late in our dorm, sharing cheap pizza and stupid jokes, talking about the future, about how we'd take on the world together. Alex had this magnetism about him. He wasn't just charismatic, he was electric. People naturally gravitated toward him, like moths to a flame. Professors remembered his name. Classmates wanted him in their projects. Girls seemed to orbit around him. He could charm anyone, anywhere, anytime. Me, I was the quieter one. I wasn't shy, exactly, but compared to Alex I was muted. He was the face, the voice, the showman. I was the guy in the background, the one who worked the details, made sure things didn't fall apart. Together, we made a hell of a team. After graduation, I landed a job at a mid-sized firm. Alex, unsurprisingly, got scooped up by a major corporation. But after a year, he called me late at night with that same confident spark in his voice. "Come work with me," he said. "We'll make waves here. You and me, side by side. Trust me, this is where the future is." I didn't even hesitate. I trusted Alex with everything. The first months at the company were exhilarating. Alex was a star. In meetings, he owned the room. His presentations were bold, risky, captivating. People hung on his every word. And behind the scenes, I was the one tightening the bolts, polishing the data, fixing the cracks in his ideas so they wouldn't collapse under scrutiny. It was a rhythm we'd always had. He was the fire, I was the foundation. But there was something different about the corporate world. Unlike college, this wasn't a game. Mistakes had consequences. Ambition came with knives hidden behind smiles. And Alex seemed to thrive on it. He loved the competition, the thrill of outshining everyone else. At first, I admired it. I thought, that's my best friend. We're climbing together. But there were moments, small ones, that unsettled me. Like the time he took credit for one of my data models during a presentation. I didn't say anything, it was his pitch, after all, and I knew he appreciated my work. But the way he looked at me afterward, a subtle "you understand, right?" glance, made me swallow the discomfort. Or the time he promised to handle a report, then disappeared for the weekend, leaving me to scramble through the night. He showed up Monday morning with that easy smile, thanked me, and brushed it off like it was nothing. "They see us as a team," he said. "Your success is my success. My success is yours. Don't sweat the details." I wanted to believe him. I did believe him, because that's what you do when it's your best friend. But deep down, I knew Alex was starting to change. Or maybe he was always like this, and I was just too loyal to notice. It wasn't one big betrayal, not yet. Just little fractures, hairline cracks in the foundation of our friendship. But cracks have a way of spreading, and soon they'd threaten to bring the whole structure down. And when it finally happened, it wouldn't just be about missed reports or stolen credit. No, it would be something far bigger. Something that would drag me into the kind of storm I never saw coming. The kind of storm where loyalty becomes a weapon. The first real sign of trouble came during the launch of a massive client project. It was Alex's baby, or at least, that's how he sold it to the board. He had painted this grand vision, a streamlined platform that would revolutionize how clients interacted with our services. Everyone loved it. Everyone trusted him. But behind the curtain, the foundation was shaky. I knew because I had built most of it. Nights bled into mornings as I sat at my desk, eyes burning, trying to stitch together a system that could withstand the scrutiny of executives and clients. Alex had the confidence, but I had the code, the logic, the real engine. A week before launch, I discovered a major flaw, something that could cause the entire platform to crash under heavy use. I brought it to Alex, expecting him to take it seriously. Instead, he waved it off. "Don't worry, we'll fix it later. Right now, optics matter more than function." I stared at him, baffled. Optics. "Alex, if this thing crashes, it won't matter how pretty the presentation looks. It'll be a disaster." He leaned back, smirking the way he always did when he thought I was overreacting. "Relax. You worry too much. That's why we're perfect together. I dream big. You stress about the small stuff. Between us, it balances out. For the first time, his words didn't reassure me. They grated. The launch went ahead, and by some miracle, it didn't collapse immediately. Clients applauded, executives shook Alex's hand, and he soaked it all in like a king returning from battle. I stood in the background, exhausted, a silent shadow to his victory. But the cracks were spreading. A month later, the system started glitching. Emails flooded in from angry clients. The flaw I had warned him about came roaring back with a vengeance. Instead of facing it, Alex panicked. He called me at midnight, his voice shaking something I'd never heard before. "Look, I need you to cover for me," he said. "Tell them it was your department. Say you'll handle it." My chest tightened. "What? Why me?" "You pitched this project, Alex. This is yours." There was a pause. Then his tone hardened, desperate, but manipulative. "You're better at fixing things than I am. If you take the blame, they'll let it slide because you can actually solve it. If I admit it's on me, my career's dead, and you know I can't afford that right now." I sat there, phone pressed against my ear, torn between anger and loyalty. We'd always had this bond, this unspoken rule. I had his back, and he had mine. But this wasn't just helping. This was sacrificing my own reputation to save his. "Please," he added quietly, "I need you." And against every rational thought, I agreed. The fallout was brutal. I took the heat in meetings, nodding as higher-ups grilled me about oversight and responsibility. Alex sat across the table, eyes fixed on his notes, barely acknowledging me. I told myself he was just keeping up appearances, that he'd thank me later. He didn't. Instead, he let the narrative stick. I had stumbled, but recovered. He had guided me through it. His star kept rising, and I remained in the shadows, the silent workhorse. Things only escalated from there. Whenever a deadline loomed, he'd vanish, leaving me to pick up the pieces. When a client was unhappy, he'd nudge me forward as the point of contact, while he smoothed things over with charm. It wasn't long before I realized what was happening. He wasn't just relying on me. He was using me as a shield. One night, after another 14-hour grind cleaning up one of his messes, I confronted him. "You can't keep doing this, Alex. I'm drowning here." He gave me that same disarming smile. "Come on, you love this stuff. You thrive under pressure. Besides, we're building something incredible together. Don't you want to be part of that?" I clenched my fist. "Part of it? Or just the guy holding it up while you take the credit?" The smile slipped, just for a second. Then he leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Listen, I know it's been rough, but trust me, this is temporary. Once I'm promoted, I'll pull you up with me. We'll run this place side by side. But I need you to keep holding on until then." His words wrapped around me like chains. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. After all, this was Alex, my best friend, my brother. The guy who once swore we'd conquer the world together. So I swallowed my resentment and nodded. But loyalty has a price. And mine was about to skyrocket. Because the next mess Alex dragged me into wasn't just about late nights or covering a glitch. It was something far riskier. Something that could cost not just my career, but everything I'd built my life on. And once I stepped onto that path, there would be no turning back. It started with a whisper. Alex leaned over my desk late one Friday night, when the office was nearly empty, and the hum of the fluorescent lights felt louder than usual. His tie was loosened, his eyes darting toward the glass walls as if the shadows themselves might be listening. "I need you to do me a favor," he said quietly. I didn't look up from my screen. "Another one?" "This is different," he pressed. "Bigger." The way he said it made my stomach clench. I turned to face him, and for the first time, Alex didn't look like the untouchable golden boy. He looked scared. "What's going on?" I asked. He hesitated, then finally said, "There's a deal I've been working on. Huge. If it goes through, it'll cement my promotion. But if it doesn't," he stopped himself, shaking his head. "It can't fail." I leaned back, arms crossed. "And what do you need from me?" Alex swallowed, lowering his voice even more. "There are numbers, projections that don't look good. I need you to adjust them." I froze. "Adjust them? You mean lie?" "It's not lying," he insisted quickly. "It's smoothing. Look, the deal will be profitable in the long run. We just need it to look solid right now. By the time anyone checks the actuals, it'll already be a success. Nobody gets hurt." I stared at him, stunned. This wasn't like covering for a glitch or taking the blame for a mistake. This was fraud. "Alex, I can't." "You can," he cut in, his voice sharp now. "You're the only one who can. You know the systems better than anyone. No one will ever trace it." The silence between us stretched, thick and suffocating. Finally, I said, "Do it yourself." Then, his jaw tightened. "I can't. If I touch the files, it'll raise red flags. But you've got access." You've always been the behind-the-scenes guy. That's why this works. I shook my head. This is insane. If we get caught, we won't, he snapped. And then his tone softened again, almost pleading. Listen, I need this, man. Everything. I've worked for everything we've worked for. It all depends on this deal. You said you'd always have my back. Don't bail on me now. His words hit me like a hammer. You said you'd always have my back. It was true. Through every late night, every screw-up, every storm, I had stood by him. Because he was Alex, my brother, my partner, the guy who had pulled me into this world with promises of building an empire together. But this wasn't just loyalty anymore. This was crossing a line I wasn't sure I could ever come back from. I wanted to say no. God, I wanted to. But then I saw the desperation in his eyes, desperation I had never seen before. Alex, the man who could charm anyone, who always seemed untouchable, was afraid. And I couldn't bring myself to let him fall. Fine, I muttered. I'll do it. But just this once. His face lit up with relief. He clapped my shoulder, squeezing it tight. I knew I could count on you. You won't regret this. But as he walked away, my gut twisted with dread. I already regretted it. That weekend, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the files on my laptop. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling. With a few keystrokes, I could rewrite reality. I thought about the risks, my job, my reputation, even prison if things went horribly wrong. But then I thought about Alex, about the years of friendship, the promises we'd made, the nights we'd sworn we'd conquer the world together. In the end, loyalty won. I adjusted the numbers. When I was done, I sat in the dark, staring at the glowing screen, my heart pounding like a drum. I had crossed a line, and there was no going back. The following week, Alex presented the deal to the executives. His performance was flawless, smooth, confident, dazzling as always. He showed the projected figures, and I watched as the room lit up with excitement. They ate it up. When it was over, Alex walked out of the boardroom like a king. He passed me in the hallway, gave me a subtle nod, and whispered, "We did it." But it didn't feel like we did anything. It felt like I had sold my soul, and Alex had pocketed the profit. The deal went through. Alex's name soared higher than ever. He was the rising star, the golden boy destined for greatness. And me? I was the ghost in the machine, the one who had made it possible, but couldn't tell a soul. For a while, things were quiet. Too quiet. I convinced myself it was a one-time thing, that Alex would keep his promise, that once he got promoted, he'd pull me up with him. But deep down, I knew better. Because once you cross a line, it doesn't get erased. It moves. And Alex was already pushing me toward the next one. The call came 2 months later. Another deal. Bigger stakes. This time, he didn't even ask. "I need you to adjust the files again," he said flatly, like it was routine now. I froze. "Alex, no. I told you it was a one-time thing." There was silence on the other end, heavy and dangerous. Then his voice turned cold. "Don't forget who saved you when that platform crashed. Don't forget who got you in this company. You owe me, and if this ship goes down, I'm not sinking alone." For the first time, I heard of the threat, the chains snapping tight around me. I wasn't just his friend anymore. I was his hostage. The second time I doctored the numbers, it was easier. That terrified me more than the act itself. My hands didn't shake as much. My conscience didn't scream as loudly. The line I had once sworn never to cross was now a faint blur behind me. But Alex? He was thriving. The more I bled for him in the shadows, the brighter he shone in the spotlight. Promotions, bonuses, recognition, everything he had ever wanted was handed to him. And each time, he'd throw me a grin and say, "We're in this together." But together was a lie. The breaking point came 6 months later. A whistleblower in another department raised concerns about irregularities in the projections. It wasn't directly tied to us, not yet, but the company launched an internal review. Tension gripped the office like a noose tightening around every throat. I was already panicking. If anyone dug too deep into Alex's deals, the truth would surface. My truth. One night, Alex stormed into my apartment, looking more rattled than I'd ever seen him. He slammed a folder onto my table. "They're sniffing around," he said. "I need you to clean this up. Erase anything that could link back to me." I flipped through the documents, my heart sinking. These weren't just doctored projections. These were contracts signed, sealed, worth millions. If anyone found out, it wasn't just a career on the line. It was prison. "Alex, this is insane," I said, shoving the folder back at him. "We're not talking about fudging numbers anymore. This is fraud on a scale that—" "Don't lecture me," he snapped, eyes blazing. "Just fix it. You're the only one who can." "No," I said firmly, "for the first time in years. I've covered for you. I've risked everything for you. But this could destroy me." His jaw clenched. "Destroy you? You think you're innocent in this? You've been in it since day one. If I go down, you go with me. The words hit me like ice water. He wasn't just asking anymore. He was blackmailing me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every memory of our friendship replayed in my head: the pizza nights, the promises, the loyalty I had given without question. And now here he was, holding a knife to my throat, daring me to defy him. I realized then, Alex had never seen me as a brother. I was a tool, a safety net, a shield. And now I was expendable. The audit came fast. Teams combed through files, reports, contracts. Every day felt like walking through a minefield, waiting for the explosion. Then came the meeting. I was summoned to a conference room, the kind with glass walls and a long mahogany table that made you feel small no matter where you sat. Executives lined one side, lawyers on the other. And at the head of the table sat Alex, looking calm, polished, untouchable. They slid a folder toward me. Inside were the doctored files. My work. Care to explain this? One of the executives asked. My blood turned to ice. Before I could speak, Alex leaned forward. His voice was steady, confident, dripping with false concern. I'm shocked, he said. I had no idea he was doing this. I trusted him completely. I thought we were partners. Partners. The word felt like poison. Every eye in the room turned to me, suspicion sharp as knives. And in that moment, I understood. He had set me up. The following weeks were a blur of interrogations, accusations, and sleepless nights. I was suspended pending investigation. My reputation, years of work, crumbled in an instant. Alex, meanwhile, played the victim perfectly. He told anyone who would listen that he had been blindsided by my reckless behavior, that he had no knowledge of my misconduct. He even visited me once, just to twist the knife deeper. You're stronger than this, he said softly, like he was consoling me. Take the fall. Own it. They'll go easier on you if you cooperate, and I'll make sure you're taken care of. I laughed bitterly. Taken care of? You mean erased? His smile didn't falter. Sometimes you have to sacrifice the pawn to save the king. That's when I saw him clearly, not as the friend I once knew, but as the manipulator he had always been. I wasn't his partner. I was his pawn. But pawns can still surprise the board. I spent every waking hour combing through files, emails, backups, anything I could use to prove the truth. Buried deep in archived logs, I found it, a series of late-night messages Alex had sent me during those deals. Direct instructions, proof that he had orchestrated everything. I printed them, every single one, and carried them into the final hearing. When the executives confronted me again, I didn't deny my role. I admitted to altering files, but I showed them why. I laid out Alex's emails, his pressure, his threats. I watched as their expressions shifted, the room tilting against him. For the first time, Alex's mask cracked. His confidence faltered. He tried to spin it, to charm his way out, but the evidence was undeniable. The golden boy fell. Alex was terminated immediately. Legal action followed, and though I wasn't free of blame, my cooperation spared me the worst. I kept my freedom, but my career was shattered. No one wanted to hire the man who had nearly tanked a multi-million-dollar deal. I lost friends, respect, years of hard work, and yet, I felt lighter, because for the first time, I wasn't chained to Alex's shadow. But I'll never forget the last time I saw him. It was months later, outside the courthouse. He was thinner, angrier, but his eyes still burned with that same fire. He walked past me, smirked, and whispered, "You think you won, but you'll never be free of me." Maybe he's right. Maybe some ghosts never leave. But if I've learned anything, it's this: loyalty without limits isn't loyalty at all. It's a trap, and I'll never let myself be trapped again. The dust had settled, but the echoes of Alex's betrayal lingered. I walked through the empty office halls, once familiar, now foreign. Each step felt heavier, yet somehow lighter, heavier because of everything lost. Lighter because I finally understood the truth. I had been loyal to the point of self-destruction. I had sacrificed sleep, sanity, and my career to prop up a man who never truly cared for me. But now, that chain was broken. The board had cleared me legally, though my reputation took a hit that might never fully heal. Colleagues avoided me, whispers followed me down hallways, yet I didn't mind. For the first time in years, I was free from manipulation, free from deceit, free from Alex's shadow. Freedom came with a bitter taste. I realized that trust could be both a shield and a weapon, that loyalty without boundaries could be fatal. But it also taught me something invaluable. Strength doesn't come from bending for others, it comes from knowing when to stand. Months later, I started over. A smaller company, no grand titles, no flashy promotions, just honest work. And I thrived, not because of anyone else, but because I learned to trust myself again. As for Alex, I never saw him again. News filtered through whispers and headlines, legal battles, ruined reputation, burned bridges. He had gambled everything and lost. And perhaps that was the only justice life could deliver. Sometimes I catch myself replaying those years, the victories, the failures, the endless nights, and I smile, grimly, because in the end, I survived. I outlived the betrayal, and I carried forward with one unshakable truth. No friendship, no promise, is worth losing yourself, and that is freedom.